Welcome to r/Am I the Jerk, where a wild Karen feels entitled to OP's property for her photo shoot. Karen plans a photo shoot at my gazebo without my permission. I, 50 female, rent a place along a river in Ontario, Canada every year in August for 10 to 14 days. My rental includes exclusive use of a cabin, a private deck with a hot tub, and a furnished gazebo. I'm the only rental with the gazebo. Just east of my place is another smaller cabin with only a dock and a hot tub. I had just returned from a quick grocery shopping trip and I was unpacking my car when a young woman walked over and started talking to me. She had obviously either just showered or just gotten out of the hot tub as she was in a bathrobe. Karen: Hi, I just wanted to let you know that my partner and I will be doing a photo shoot in the gazebo tomorrow morning. We'll need to move your boats out of the way, but don't worry, we'll put them back. Now, this gazebo is attached to the deck surrounding my rental cabin, and my kayaks are stored there when rain is forecast. I have exclusive use of this area, and no one from the other rentals is supposed to come near my space. This is part of the owner's orientation for all new arrivals. I was standing at my cabin door, holding grocery bags, stunned that she thought she could just take over the gazebo that's part of my rental. Karen: So, are you staying here alone, or do you have your husband and kids with you? Do you own the cabin? How much did it cost? How long have you been here? She fired off these questions rapidly with no pause for answers. Me: You're in my private space. Please leave. Karen: I'm just being friendly. Me: No, you're intruding on my space and invading my privacy. Your questions are intrusive and creepy. You will not be doing a photo shoot tomorrow or at any other time in my gazebo. Please leave now. Karen: No need to get snippy, she said in a snippy tone. We're doing the shoot tomorrow, so you better not interfere. Given your attitude, I think it's best if you head into town by 8 and don't come back before 2. Me: Not happening. Get out of here. Leave my space now. Karen, stomping her foot: You are being unreasonable. You're the only one with a gazebo. You need to share. Me: No, I don't. Leave now. I went into the cabin, locked the door, and immediately messaged the owner. I've been renting here for years, and the owner and I have become friends. The next day, they didn't show up for their photo shoot. The owner had to chase them out of the rental the following morning as they were still in bed an hour past checkout time. Am I the jerk for telling my sister I don't care that her house is bigger and cheaper than mine? My sister, 24 female, and I, 26 male, grew up in a small town that I pretty much got chased out of. I ended up a couple of hours away in Chicago. I absolutely love it here. There are things open after 7 p.m., I can walk and take transit everywhere, and there are actual jobs for disabled people like me. A few months ago, I bought a house in the middle of my lease. It's an 800 square foot bungalow in a lovely neighborhood that didn't need any work at all. It cost $220,000. For comparison, my sister bought a 20-year-old 2,400 square foot house for $170,000 last year. In our hometown, my house would go for maybe $80,000. She's not in a bad area or anything. It just has nothing to offer young people who haven't lived there for several generations. My sister came over yesterday to see the house for the first time, which was an event in itself because she's scared of Chicago. She liked the photos and called it a good starter home. I planned to live here forever, but was pretty disappointed when she actually got to look around. She claimed it was barely bigger than a studio apartment. She asked how much I paid. I told her, and she said, I literally paid $50,000 less for something much newer, prettier, and 3 times the size. I said, okay, congrats, but I don't care. I'd rather buy somewhere I actually want to live, even if it costs more. She accused me of being condescending and said I shouldn't act like I'm too good for our hometown. I told her I wanted to move past this and offered to walk with her to the KFC a couple of blocks away. She said she'd rather go home and that I should reimburse her for gas since she drove all the way out here, 2 hours, to see me, only for her to have to leave after half an hour because of my attitude. I told her I wouldn't be doing that and that she chose to leave, and she said, You've turned into a complete jerk ever since you moved here. I told her to leave, and she left. I'm not sure who the jerk here is because we aren't the type to involve family in our arguments, but she's telling her friends who are apparently saying I'm a jerk who just wanted to humiliate her. Edit. Just wanted to clear some things up. I got such a good deal because a friend of my aunt had to go into assisted living. She wanted to sell ASAP. I was able to pay in cash, and she gave me a good deal because she knew I was looking and that I'd take great care of it. I'm also in a shady, according to tech bros who never leave the north side, area. Also, somebody mentioned that I shouldn't look down on my hometown. I will, and I'm not sorry for it. I faced a lot of harassment there, and I had to leave because some people made it their mission to harass me. Not the jerk. It's your money to spend on whatever house you want. She doesn't live there. Who cares if she likes it? I hope you're happy in your home. Not the jerk. You escaped the crab bucket. Stay out of the crab bucket. Don't let your sister draw you back down into it. She acts out of envy, not love. Your new life and independence scare her. I, 37 male, want to try to get back with the one who got away, 36 female. Is there any chance of that happening? I've been tearing myself apart just thinking about her and how things ended. I can't stop no matter how hard I try. When I, 37 male, was 20, I met the most beautiful woman, Lila, who was 19 at the time. She was the most beautiful woman I had ever seen. We dated for 2 years. I met her parents. Her no-nonsense cop father definitely gave me the stink eye at first, but he grew to like me. Her mom adored me right off the bat, always complimenting me. Her younger siblings loved playing in the backyard with me. She met my parents and my 2 brothers, and they all loved her right away. My younger brother was the same age as her, and they were going to college together, helping each other study in some shared classes. Even my 6-month-old dog, whom I had adopted before meeting her, seemed to like her more than he liked me. She told me about her dreams, how she wanted to own a home that was tucked away from everything but not completely isolated, how she wanted to become a doctor and help people. She wanted to be a pediatrician because she loved kids. She always talked about wanting a family, not caring how many kids she had. She just wanted to experience the ups and downs of motherhood. At the time, I thought I wanted to have kids too. I wanted to marry her and give her the family she so clearly wanted. She was my Lila, and I wanted to stay with her forever. I was young, but I was in love with her. After 2 years of dating, I started to realize that I didn't want to have kids. I thought I was just being influenced by my bratty cousins, but the more I thought about it, the more the idea of being a father made me sick. The thought of dealing with a screaming, crying baby, and then a tantrum-throwing toddler, a bratty kid, and a moody teenager was overwhelming. I didn't want to be held down like that. I wanted to travel, have money, and be free. After a few drinks one night, I ended up telling Lila all of this. I remember she went quiet and simply said, "I won't try to change your mind, but I'm not giving up my dreams." I remember scoffing and rolling my eyes, telling her that we weren't going to have kids. She stood up from the couch and said, "You might not want that anymore, but I still do. I'm not going to try to force either of us to change our minds. Otherwise, one of us will end up miserable." I realized she was breaking up with me, and even though she was calm and mature about it, I remember feeling so angry. She started gathering her things in silence. I kept arguing with her, trying to change her mind. I told her it was stupid to want to have them, that they were annoying and a waste of time. I didn't want to be held down by that. I really started going off on her and calling her names. She finally started to respond, telling me to calm down, that we simply wanted different things in life and that was okay. I couldn't stand her in that moment because she didn't agree with me. I completely lost it and destroyed our entire apartment. She just watched me as I did all of this. Then she walked past me and left. This whole thing happened over a few hours. In less than a day, I lost the love of my life and my apartment was now trashed. Of course, news of why we broke up and my reaction reached my family. My mom cried when she heard about my reaction. My dad gave me the coldest look I'd ever seen. My brothers both said I was an idiot, with my younger brother saying I was lucky she hadn't called the cops on me. That was 15 years ago. I've tried to have relationships since, but they never lasted more than a few weeks. I travel around for work, but now I'm back in the same town Lila lives in. Lila got married, earned her doctorate, had kids, and is still a pediatrician last I heard. My younger brother kept some contact with her in the first few years after the breakup. He even invited her to his wedding, but she declined because she didn't want to cause any drama. I'm back in her town, the town we grew up in, dated in, lived in, and where she currently lives. I can't stop thinking about her. I miss her so much right now. I miss her sweet perfume that smelled like a bakery. She's 36 now, and I want to reach out to her and make amends. I want to hold her and hug her one last time to tell her I love her and I'm sorry. I don't know if that's a good idea, but a part of me needs closure. I don't know what to do. I want to sweep her off her feet and have her be my love again, but I don't know if that ship has sailed already. Update. I recently reached out to her, and I didn't expect her to respond as we ended it on bad terms. She did respond, and she ended up messaging me for a while and catching up. I finally asked her if she'd be willing to see me in person, and she agreed. I'm over the moon, but I'm also nervous about going on a date with her. She's 36 and I'm 37. The last time we were on dates was 15 years ago. Our date is tomorrow evening after she gets off work. I'm scared I'll mess things up again. I already feel like she's being too generous by even agreeing to see me again, let alone going on a date. I can't shake this horrible feeling that I'll mess up something, end up more heartbroken than before, and come on too strong and scare her away. I've bought her favorite flowers, and I've started wearing her favorite cologne from all those years ago. I've been practicing what I need and want to say to her. I have no idea how this date will go, but I needed to express my feelings of nervousness. Update: 3 days after our date. She's just as beautiful as she was when we were together. She's still the same woman I fell in love with all those years ago. We sat down and talked. I didn't want to talk too much about myself, but she asked about my life, so I had to answer. She asked about my job, my family, and how I'd been, typical catching up stuff. I admit I was zoning out and operating on autopilot to keep my nerves in check. I just wanted to grab her, hold her, kiss her, and make her mine again. I didn't realize how much I missed her until she was right in front of me. When she finished asking about me, I finally got to ask about her. She got married 11 years ago, 4 years after our breakup. She has 2 daughters, who are 8 and 6. Seeing how happy she was when talking about them made me feel jealous and guilty. I should have been the one to have kids with her, but I was stupid, and now she had kids with someone else. I asked about her husband, and it turned out she's a widow. He passed 7 years ago while she was pregnant with her youngest. It was unexpected, and she has done her best to hold herself together for her daughters. I asked if she was seeing anyone, and she said no. I asked if she ever thought about me after our breakup, and her answers were vague. I told her she could be blunt with me. Lila admitted that she was very depressed after our breakup. She had built a future with me in her mind and felt that I broke it on a whim. She said she tried to convince herself that she didn't want kids, but couldn't stop herself from wanting to be a mom. She knew that giving up on that would make her miserable for the rest of her life. I asked if I scared her that night, if she felt threatened. She said that it overwhelmed her, and while the commotion frightened her, she wouldn't say she feared for her safety. I apologized for how we broke up and told her I regretted everything I did and said that night. She said she had moved on and forgiven me years ago. She always was a very forgiving and kind person, part of why I fell in love with her. I asked if she was willing to give me another chance and let me back into her life. She was hesitant and got quiet for a moment. I could feel myself panicking. She said she didn't mind me being in her life, but I'd have to regain her trust before she'd consider dating me again. I was disappointed, frustrated, and disheartened, but I knew if I came on too strong, she'd turn me away completely. I told her I'd be happy to be in her life in any way I could, and that with her permission, I'd work to prove that I deserved a second chance at romance. I'm happy to have Lila semi back in my life, and I'm going to work on proving to her that we should get back together. I hope that one day I'll be posting for advice on the family that we'll have together if all goes well. Am I the jerk for demanding my parents not include my adopted siblings when we go out to dinner for my birthday? 5 years ago, my, 15 male, parents adopted 2 siblings. I'll call them Cassandra, who's 17, and Layla, who's 15. 2 years ago, Luku, who's 2, their biological younger brother, absolute light of my life, was born and surrendered, so he was placed with us too. Since they were adopted as preteens, a major priority for my parents was bonding with them 2-on-3. They go to a lot of bonding activities. They're constantly bouncing between adoption therapy, family therapy, which feels weird because I'm also part of the family. I'm only included once in a while, usually to be told I need to be less of a show-off, and every single bonding event they can find. They also take them out after individual therapy, which I 100% support and would never admit to being jealous of in real life. But I'm really jealous of it. I know it's not the same, but I had 6 bouts over the summer, and it was a miracle that they attended 3. These did not include the last fight or the family day. At least come for the catharsis of seeing me get whacked with a sword. Sometimes circumstances demand that I'm there, and I moved my schedule to make this happen more often. At first, they let me hang to the side, but then they ask that I step back so I'm not engaging with whatever it is they're doing with my sisters because the bonding activities are supposed to be for them. Last night, I told my parents that I wanted them to do things with me alone, that they were wildly favoring my siblings over me, and I wanted to have dinner on my birthday with only them. They didn't take it well and threatened to send me to therapy. We ate in silence for a few minutes. I tried to tell them I won the season-long bracket, and they emphasized how much it was not a time to be bragging or doing anything except apologizing. They said my siblings are in need of more support. They also accused me of believing my siblings aren't real just because I wanted to have some time with my parents where it wasn't about my siblings. After dinner, Layla said she thought it was a good idea and suggested we go out as a family but pay attention to me in particular for the whole week. That sounds incredibly embarrassing, but amazing. I'd adore that, especially since I want to hang out with my sisters more anyway. Cassandra, though, pulled me aside and said I had always been a spoiled jerk, but that this was like a healthy man demanding stitches from a poorly stocked first aid kit because everyone else had them and he wanted to feel special. She said I should take a step back and realize that was an awful thing to ask. I'm split between wanting to run away so my family doesn't have to deal with me and sinking into the comfort of self-pity. I just want my own parents, or my own siblings, or somebody to genuinely care about how I feel or be glad when I do something well. Not the jerk. I don't mean this condescendingly, but as a statement of fact, you're a kid. You deserve to have parents who are present and engaged in your life. What your parents do for your adoptive siblings is admirable. It sounds like they're genuinely doing their best for those kids, but it does not mean they can sacrifice you or your needs, or that your needs are less important or a lesser priority. Am I the jerk for serving my roommate's girlfriend's leftovers at my dinner party without asking? Here's the situation. My roommate, Dave, has been dating this girl, Lisa, for a few months. Lisa is an amazing cook, and whenever she comes over, she whips up these incredible meals. The thing is, she always makes way too much food, and they leave a ton of leftovers in the fridge. Now, Dave never eats the leftovers. I'm not exaggerating when I say that every few days, I have to go through the fridge and clean out all the old food Lisa leaves behind because it just sits there until it starts to go bad. A few weeks ago, I decided to throw a small dinner party for some friends. I'm not much of a cook, so I was getting stressed about what to serve. I thought, why not ask Lisa to help out? She's always cooking at our place anyway, and I've always complimented her food. So I casually mentioned it to Dave, asking if Lisa might be cool with cooking for my party. Dave seemed a bit taken aback, but said he'd ask her. The next day, he told me Lisa wasn't comfortable with it because she didn't want to feel like she was being taken advantage of. I was surprised, but I told him no problem. I'd figure something else out. The night before the party, Lisa comes over and starts making dinner for her and Dave, as usual. I'm in the kitchen hanging out with them, and I mention that I'm still trying to figure out what to serve at my party the next day. Lisa doesn't say much, but continues cooking, and I notice she's making a lot of food. You say, there's the food I'm serving tomorrow. Way more than just for her and Dave. After they finish eating, they leave the leftovers in the fridge. Given the history of these leftovers going uneaten and just taking up space until I have to clean them out, I get an idea. The next day, I take out the leftovers, heat them up, and I serve them at my dinner party, along with a bean dip that I made. My friends loved the food and kept complimenting me on how great it was. I just smiled and thanked them without giving too many details. That night, Dave comes home, orders pizza, and goes to bed without even checking the fridge. 2 days later, after Lisa has already come by and cooked another dinner, he notices the leftovers are gone and asks me what happened to them. I tell him that I used them for my party. He gets super mad and says I had no right to take the food that Lisa made. I argue that it was just leftovers, and since they never eat them, I figured it was better than letting them go to waste. Now, both Dave and Lisa are pretty upset at me, saying it was a jerk move to steal her cooking for my party. I think they're overreacting because it was just food that was going to end up in the trash otherwise. So, am I the jerk for serving my roommate's girlfriend's leftovers at my dinner party without asking? You're the jerk. You should at least ask if you can use it or offer to pay for the cost of the ingredients to make those foods. It doesn't matter if they would have ended up in the trash. You should have asked for their permission to use it. Now Lisa is really being taken advantage of. So he should have let them waste food and let it go bad for the umpteenth time? Forget that. They would have said no and it would have been wasted. They would have never eaten it. Seriously, the amount of privilege takes on this sub is infuriating. It's the principle of the matter. Your stuff is your stuff. Would you be okay with someone stealing your crap? If I don't eat leftovers and they get thrown out, I would absolutely be okay with someone eating them. People are too comfortable being wasteful and it's disgusting. The principle here is Lisa needs to learn serving sizes, cook at her own place, or take her leftovers home to go bad in her own dang fridge. Everyone sucks here. You know what you did. She literally told you she was uncomfortable. Also, you lied. Also, you stole. Also, you held a dinner party without knowing the night before what you were making. What would you have done if she hadn't cooked? They need to take responsibility for their leftovers. You shouldn't be finding them going bad and having to throw them out. As soon as they're depending on you to manage the food buildup, they're muddying the waters. But seriously, you know what you did. You're the jerk, but for a different reason than everyone else is saying. It was weird for you to ask Lisa to cook for your party in the first place. That's a pretty big favor to ask from someone who, let's face it, you don't even know that well. Thinking you could just request that she cooks a fancy meal for you and all of your friends when you're just her boyfriend's roommate is pretty wild. Now, if you had asked her to help you out by recommending some easy recipes or to give you tips on cooking, that would be different, but the request was pretty out of pocket. I do agree that they need to be more conscientious about their leftovers, but I think you need to think about boundaries and what's cool to ask of someone that you really don't know that well. I'm going to jail in 7 hours. What's something I should do before I go? It's only for a month, but I feel like there's something I'm not remembering. I've unplugged appliances and such, done my laundry and cleaned up. I took the trash out, made sure my bills are good until I'm out, no food that's gonna expire while I'm gone. Is there anything simple that I may have forgotten? Update. Hi everyone, I'm back. I'll do a detailed update after work, but overall it was boring. I have plenty more to share, but all in all, 2 out of 10, don't recommend. I'll start off by saying jail is not very fun, that's for sure. So after I made this post, before it blew up, I did a last check of my apartment, made sure my bills were good, and I got someone to check on my place. My sister came by and picked me up around noon. We did some fun things and went to watch Across the Spider-Verse, which was really good. After that, we hit up the Wendy's by the jail for my proverbial last supper. Honestly, I was very anxious, so I had to pretty much force myself to eat it, but I'm glad I did. I turned myself in at exactly 6 p.m. to the jail. Initially, they didn't even know I was supposed to show up, but they got that squared away pretty quickly. First, they had me sign some paperwork and get a little medical checkup, just vitals and some questions. Next, they had me take a shower. They gave me some anti-lice shampoo that made my scalp and body incredibly cold. Next, they gave me my jail clothes and had me go through a full body scan to make sure I wasn't carrying anything I shouldn't be. They give orange jumpsuits to inmates who have been arrested but are waiting court, gray to inmates who have been sentenced, me, and white clothes to the workers. Workers have their clothes and towels changed out every day, while everyone else got them switched on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. They also gave us new clothes on Sundays. After I was dressed and clean enough, they sent me back to the intake dorm, so to speak. This was a room with 24 cells in it, 12 on top, 12 on bottom. There was a common area with 6 tables and a TV, as well as a pull-up bar that you could also do dips on. This specific jail doesn't have outside recreation time anymore because the state says a pull-up bar is enough to count as recreation time. So basically, I was inside a room with nearly no windows for my sentence. My cell here was about 12 feet long and 7 feet wide. It had a sink, toilet, and a desk in it. The bed was a metal rack with about an inch of foam to lay on. We didn't get pillows, but we got 2 sheets and a wool blanket that was very itchy. I used the wool blanket as my pillow and covered up with a sheet, while using the other sheet to act as a barrier between me and the foam. Luckily for me, I'm a very warm sleeper because the jail was kept very cold at all times. Since the intake dorm is a medium security block, we had it locked down in our cells from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. as well as 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. every day. At 6 a.m. sharp, they turn all the lights on and announce, "Head count," on the speaker. This means I had to get out of my bed and go stand by the cell door while the guards came around and made sure that no one escaped overnight. If you didn't get out of bed, they locked you in your cell for 24 hours until the next morning. After that, I would lay back down and try to sleep until breakfast came at 7. Breakfast was generally cereal with milk, peanut butter with toast, and either apple or orange juice. The food menu was the same every week. After breakfast, I always went back to my cell to lay down and try to get some more sleep, but the intake dorm was incredibly loud. People couldn't seem to have a conversation without yelling. People were playing dominoes and cards from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., slapping them on the table. No one had any respect for other people, basically because it's a bunch of literal criminals who just got to jail. Not to mention how bright the lights were. What I'm saying is, there wasn't many nap opportunities in that block. Since I couldn't sleep much, I read my books. Library was every Wednesday morning. Luckily, my first morning there. Could check out 4 books. Brushed up on my spades, learned how to play tonk, played a bit of poker too. I played some chess and lost a game to an old man. I was thinking all day about how bad I wanted to play him again, only for him to get released right after dinner. I still want that rematch, Randy. Sometime before lunch, I would shower. In this dorm, there were 2 separate single-person showers. They were very small and way too hot. Don't even think about stepping foot in there without your sandals on. Also, don't touch the walls or the curtain. Basically, don't touch anything but the button that makes the water come out. The showers were nastier than any shower I've had to use in my many years playing hockey. Now, I went in on a Tuesday night and immediately put in a commissary order of shampoo, conditioner, soap, toothpaste, some ramen, candy. You get it, the essentials. I got all of that on Thursday morning, which was nice, until I realized I forgot to buy deodorant. Yay. I'm very serious about my personal hygiene, and commissary didn't come again until the next Tuesday, so that was a rough week for me. Honestly, it didn't make much of a difference since half of the people in there didn't shower or brush their teeth at all, making the dorm smell unique, to put it lightly. The toothbrush they give to the inmates is a grand total of 2 inches long, which wasn't very effective. The reason is so no weapons can be made with it. But they also gave us a very long spoon that could be used to hurt someone, so I call BS. Anyway, after all that, lunch came around noon. We would eat and lounge about some more until 1 p.m. when they locked us in our cells. From 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. it was generally pretty quiet since everyone was in their own space, so naturally I slept as much as I could, because why would I want to be conscious in jail when I don't have to be? When 3 p.m. came around, they did head count again, and again, if you weren't fully dressed by your cell door, they would lock you in your cell for 24 hours. I never had this happen, but I sure witnessed it happening plenty. Usually it was because someone was withdrawing or something, and they were understandably depressed about being incarcerated. After that, we would do the same crap, just waiting around until more food came. Dinner was sometime between 5:30 and 6. I guess I'll post the food menu here since you're all wanting to know. I'll preface by saying that the county jail that I went to has a reputation, unbeknownst to me, for actually having good food compared to other jails in my state. I would compare it to the school lunches I got in high school. Not amazing, but it was edible. And for that, I feel lucky. So here's the menu. Monday, breakfast, sausage and cheese McMuffin, delicious. Hash brown, juice, milk. Lunch, mac and cheese, not bad. Either cucumber salad or zucchini and milk. Dinner, sloppy joe with a biscuit, peas and carrots, bread and butter. And each day of the week we had different things on the menu. Some of them were pretty good, but some of them weren't very good at all. All of the meat was turkey or chicken. After dinner, we did a whole lot of nothing until 9 p.m. when they locked us down. My block actually had one inmate who was waiting to be sentenced on an arson charge and who was considered dangerous, so he wasn't allowed around other inmates and was on 23-hour lockdown. His 1 hour of free time was from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. when we were all locked in our cells, and this guy was crazy. Anyway, at 10 p.m. they turned the lights off, but it never actually gets dark in jail. This posed a problem for me because I have serious trouble falling asleep as it is, so I would read until I got sleepy enough, then use my shirt to cover my eyes and doze off. Usually I was pretty hungry at bedtime, so I would eat a ramen before I brushed my teeth. There wasn't a microwave in the intake dorm, so I would fill my bowl of noodles with warm water until the noodles get soft. Then I would dump that water out and put new warm water in and mix in the seasoning. The cell's sink water only got to about 100 degrees, so it wasn't very good, but it was food, so I'm not complaining. The food they served us was good enough, but there was never very much of it, so I had to make do with what I had. For reference, I'm 5'11" and about 165 pounds. I've always been active and have a physically engaging job, so I eat a bit more and burn more calories. I would end up falling asleep sometime around 1 or 2 a.m. most days until 6 a.m. when it started all over again. After a week in there, they finally moved me back to the minimum security dorm. This was a room about the size of a gymnasium with much lower ceilings. There were a total of 78 beds, 19 bunk beds on the back wall, with 2 rows of 20 single beds just in front of them. There was a communal bathroom with 3 urinals, 3 toilets, and cleaner to use before every movement, and 6 shower heads. Despite the 6 showers, we could only use one at a time, apparently with the exception of the guy who just hopped in there with me for a few minutes, cleaned, and went about his day. There was a guard desk with a guard there 24/7. 95% of the time, the guards were scrolling TikTok or playing online poker, paying no attention to the inmates, and even less attention to the showers that were 25 feet away from us. The other 5%, they would walk from bunk to bunk looking for stashes of fruit or unmade beds. We had a couple shakedowns, where they tear the whole place up looking for contraband. Nothing really came of them though. The intake dorm also had a vending machine stocked with ramen, candy, other sweets like honey buns and cinnamon rolls, and things of that nature. Soda, coffee, sugar, you get the idea. A commissary to-go machine, if you will. Everything from the vending machines was also less expensive, $1 for ramen instead of $1.40. There were also 2 microwaves and 2 TVs. One TV always had ESPN or some other sports channel, the other on a movie or show. The minimum dorm also didn't lock down from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. and didn't lock down at night until 10 p.m. So while you sacrificed your privacy, the microwave and vending machine were too good to pass up, so everyone stayed in there. Oh, also the cot you slept on was actually somewhat comfortable, as much as foam on a metal rack can be, I guess. All of the workers stayed here as well as most non-violent offenders who weren't a nuisance. There were a couple of fights in here though, and the people involved got immediately sent to the hole. Yes, it's a real thing. Basically a cell with no TV, no other people, no commissary. Basically nothing at all but your thoughts and the occasional tray of food to tell you what time it is. I luckily did not have to check it out for myself. The days went by the same way in minimum, except I didn't get a nap from 1 to 3 p.m., so I got even less sleep in there. I did, however, get to read more books, so it wasn't all that bad. The only things to do were sleep, eat, read, play cards, maybe a little chess if you're feeling froggy that day, or sit on a metal seat and watch TV. The seats were unbearable for more than an hour. A lot of people also walked laps or did pull-ups on their machine that was supposed to be our recreational area. Did I mention we weren't allowed outside? Yeah, I'm still a bit salty about that, so I'll say it again. There were phones in each dorm to use. After your one free call, using the phone cost 21 cents per minute, which is expensive, so I used it sparingly. There was one guy who was arrested on some crazy drug charges in there, awaiting his trial. He used the phone for 8 hours a day, I'm not exaggerating. He also didn't speak any English and would sometimes start screaming into the phone. He actually got sent back to the secure dorms because he missed head count, because he was on the phone. I feel like there's a lot I'm missing and it'll all come to me later. But for now, I'll wrap it up. Jail is not a fun place to be, never has been, never will be. That said, I deserved it and I did the time. Lastly, stay positive. Life is too short to spend it any other way. For those wondering what he did, based on his post history, it was drunk driving. Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard. Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.